Okay. Right. So we're kind of rewriting the accreditation standards. Today, I really just wanted to finish some of chapter 9 and even get to some stuff on policy about food in America, because there's a little bit of policy in relation to food that makes it kind of difficult for some people to qualify for food stamps and whatnot. So, and then more of that Noam Chomsky movie, which is your next discussion board. I feel like you're caught up on a lot of stuff because I opened everything so you could get caught up on.
Yeah, I caught up to everything. And I think I started like working ahead too. So.
Right. Yeah, you might as well, because then all you really have is the paper. That's, gosh, is that really just a week away? And then the I will get the final up a month ahead of time so you guys can be done. It'll just be a reflection paper, but that's too much stuff to do.
Yeah.
What other classes do you have?
I'm in a history class, multicultural education.
Oh yeah, those are always fun classes actually. Gym.
Yeah, it's online though, so I don't know what she wants me to do.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, because she keeps saying like you're supposed to do certain stuff. Like I think walking around campus is exercise, so I count that as my exercise.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, your phone counts your steps every day, so you can put it in.
Yeah.
Did you do gym in high school? I guess too.
Yeah.
Where were you in high school? Columbus.
Yeah.
Was it like a Catholic school or one of the private ones?
No, it was public. It was Gahanna. It's one of the bigger ones in the suburbs.
Okay. Is it like one of the well-known public schools, or
Yeah.
okay? And then is it like we have Walnut Hills in Cincinnati, and that's like a big deal, and everybody gets into like colleges, which is another big deal. Usually our public schools have different retention rates also. So, did you want to do your education around there, like where you're from and your?
I don't know, because I don't know if I'll like stay in Ohio, but I also know if I get my licensure in Ohio, it's one of the hardest ones to get in, so it's flexible. Like if
That's
I want
good.
to move to a different state or stuff.
That's good. They always said that about Kentucky social work licenses, actually. So, and then you're halfway done, literally this year, next month, in a month you'll have 60 hours or 61 finished. That's cool. You know, that's our goals for you guys, and getting you understanding some of the policy. Actually, with you all too, even understanding some of our education policy. Do you guys have any policy classes in education?
Yeah, like classroom management.
Uh-huh.
Like the ins and outs of how I don't even know how to, it's just a lot of, I have like a professional teaching class, like the laws and stuff that go behind it, like the due diligence and all of that.
Right. And then maybe even policy in America, where you kind of have to at least get a GED or get up to 10th grade or graduate. You just can't like skip school until you're 18.
Yeah, and then like background check. I've already had to get like multiple background checks for it. So.
Yeah, we always do the FBI and BCI background checks in social work. So teaching and social work are very similar in that way. So, I have surgery tomorrow on my knee. So I should be back by Tuesday. I mean, unless if like, they always make you sign off that you could die during the surgery. I probably won't. So I wanted to get you guys caught up to some of these and some of the Noam Chomsky stuff, which I know can seem a bit much, but it will relate to your education policy too. Would you want to teach public schools or private schools?
Public.
Like maybe the one that you came from?
Yeah. I did go home last weekend, and I ended up, I serve back home, like I'm a server.
Uh-huh.
And one of my tables, because I work in where I grew up, one of the tables was like teachers that work in the district, and I was talking to them about school and stuff, and they were like, well, yeah, if you ever need like an opportunity, just let us know.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you could
like contact information and stuff.
You could do your student teaching there, I bet.
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying? Like, hey,
they're
you're
really flexible. I know sometimes they let them go back to Columbus, go to Dayton for their student teaching and observation. So it's just what I really want to do.
yeah, that would be awesome. It's you know, sometimes I get annoyed at how much we had to do as social workers with our internships, but it really helps you in the field when you do observation and student teaching and learn how to do it before you start your job. It makes you feel so much more comfortable about doing the job than
That is one of the first things they teach is that you learn more in like your first 5 years actually in the field than they can teach you like just sitting
yes,
down. Because you never know what a kid's gonna do in class, so it's like
yes,
you can't sit here and say, "Oh, this kid's gonna do this at this time." You can't really.
right, yeah, yeah. It's definitely been different the past several years. Dr. Allen said she was going to bust in and interrupt our class because she wants to pull me out to write this. Um, what's it called? Our policy standards for Council on Social Work Education accreditation. It's apparently due on Wednesday, and we will have it done. But did you do your taxes? Did you end up getting any tax credits or tax back, or your mom claims
Yeah,
everything?
My mom does mine since she's in finances and all that, but I got a tax return.
So even if they claim you as a dependent, you still could get some of your money back that you paid into the taxes, I
Yeah,
guess?
because
Okay.
I work myself too, so she can like claim me back. I still work too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you're still paying like Social Security tax, which we
Yeah.
just went over in this. I think you're still paying, there's like 2 or 3 federal taxes you have to pay. And if you don't make more than, say, $10,000 last year, you sometimes get a lot of it back.
That's what I was talking to my friend who worked last year too and had unemployment and stuff, and they're doing like credit this year or whatever, where you don't have to pay back what you made in unemployment. So he only owed like $30.
Okay.
Instead, he did originally owe like $1,500, and then it went down to like $30.
Oh,
Plus
geez.
like 180 or something.
Okay. Wow. Oh, so like he collected unemployment during COVID.
Yeah, but they're saying that it's like credited now, so you can earn up to like 12,000 or 12,000 in credit or something, and so you didn't have to pay it.
That's nice. Yeah. So, and again, some of these benefits pay into the system that if you ever need to collect or when your parents are 62, which I'm guessing your parents are not anywhere close to 62.
She's barely 50.
Is she
Yeah.
like, is she 49 or is she
It's like 48, 49. I don't know that I don't know.
right. So then she would have had you at the age of like 30 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yep, that's what my mom was because she is 74 this year and I turned 43 this year. So, and she had my baby sister when she was like 40. So yeah, you pay into this system and you'll get it back when you're that age. In fact, my mom is collecting now at that age. Like she gets a check, and it's nice because my dad still works. My mom's an artist, so she still paints. So they still make money, but they get that check. They are getting their benefit back because they worked for it. They paid into supplemental security income, means tested, federally administered income assistance program that provides monthly cash payments in accordance with the uniform nationwide eligibility requirements to needy aged, which I guess if you paid into the system, you'll get it back anyway, regardless. The blind or disabled people before you're 62. So the earliest you can collect is like 62. Average age collection is 65. Now they incentivize you. If you don't collect until you're 70, they give you way more because most people die because they don't want to pay you. And they're like, yeah, wait till you're 70. And then you die at 68. So it's government's way of geeking on you in a way. But now people are living a little bit longer. Women live into their 80s, men are into their 70s. Goals of the general assistance, so to provide benefits to low-income persons ineligible for federal assistance and these programs of last resort. My parents both get insurance through these programs. Even though my dad's working, I guess most places, even when you're 65, because the government covers your insurance, he doesn't even pay into his insurance program. So, and like he had a heart surgery when he was 65. When was that? 2014. So he turned 70 in 2015. And the whole heart surgery is covered. That's like $100,000. So those, there are some good benefits to that if you pay into it. Earn income tax credit. It was introduced to encourage employment and work and reduce tax burden on the poor working families and provide anti-poverty program effectively and efficiently. So we do get different tax credits for working. They've tried to make it so we don't all live in a welfare state, because if we all collected welfare from the government, nobody is producing in the government, so there's nothing to borrow from, if that makes sense. So you need to have some workers. There will always be some disabled people. There will always be old people. So they collect. Ideally, the young and healthy are working. Now, it is tricky because right now in New York, they've cut out the payments for mortgages. I don't know if you know anything about this. They've made it where you don't have to pay your mortgage or your rent in New York. You also can get food assistance in New York. And now they're providing, depending on how many children you have, they will have the payments. If you have 2 kids, I think, we got $1,400 for my wife, $1,400 for myself, and $1,400 for our baby. The one in her womb, we didn't get anything for her, but it'll come out in a month and a half, so they might actually start doing monthly payments for that. It is exciting and scary at the same time, as that could mean inflation.
That's what I was thinking, because in my other class, you had said something in the stimulus, how they had written it up and everything, families are starting to get $400 a month or something like that.
Yes.
For each kid.
They are. And there's an argument called, I believe I put one of the videos up called Universal Basic Income, that some countries are going to, but the problem is, again, we need to have as many producers as we have takers and consumers. Because if you just have an entire country of, New York, free rent, free housing, free food, and we're producing nothing, at some point the system crashes, because somebody has to grow food. Somebody has to generate the oil and coal to heat your house or to turn your lights on. So there's a balancing act, if that makes sense. So with policy, there's always a balance between the rich and the poor, and nobody has found the perfect answer for it yet. So that all being said, that's kind of what the Noam Chomsky stuff is getting into. And I know he's an old dude and semi-boring, but he does get into some political uprisings that happened way back when about one of them they called the American Nightmare, the American Dream. American. I actually did get some of that free Bitcoin though. Requiem for American Dream. That's it. And it was on this, I've been telling you guys about Coinbase, because you get $35 free of a crypto. And I put it all into this one that is basically supposed to provide internet all over the world. And so ideally, hopefully, that would be a good investment. This is the crypto, in case you guys have I think it's theta.tv. So if you get your free account, for those of you that don't have your stimulus check yet, and those who wanted to get the free cryptocurrency on Coinbase.com, and then I put it all into this one. Is it's supposed to provide for teachers? It's supposed to be huge because a lot of teaching is going to go online soon. People stream stuff. I don't know if you watch TV shows every night or watch television and usually stream your info. So what this does is share your upload and download speeds with all other users that are nearby. Maybe when you're sleeping, you're not using your internet, so somebody's able to borrow from your upload or download speed. And then when you're awake, China's asleep and we borrow from China's upload and download speed. That's what this cryptocurrency does. So I hate cryptos because they felt like they were something fake, but this actually seems to be something that is useful And oh, it's called the Theta token. That's why. Okay, Theta token. And so apparently that's the crypto to buy. If you want to dump $35 of free cryptocurrency into it, this is what it's like an upgrade for the internet. And it's supposed to help teachers, especially if we go online streaming like we are already doing since COVID. And if we do more of the streaming, or if you watch your TV shows at night or watch YouTube, or what else do people watch that you stream, like Netflix? Is there anything else?
I just watched Netflix and Hulu.
Okay, yeah, so it is. I feel like there's no longer the old-fashioned TV where you plug it in and have an antenna. It's like all digital, so you almost need internet for freaking everything. So anyway, I told we'll just get 15 more minutes into this if that's okay, because I did promise Dr. Allen. I said I'll do half the class in person and half online, so we can be done by 3 something again if that works for you. Okay. I know you guys can watch this on your own, but sometimes it's nicer to see it on the big screen. I don't know.
Policy of our dissent. If they are serious about law and order, they should first provide it.
Any idea why? Great. Maybe it won't want to work for us today anyway.
Concern for other people.
One day we must ask the question, why are there 40 million poor people in America? When you begin to ask that question, you're raising a question about the economic system, about a broader distribution of wealth, a question of restructuring the whole of American society.
These are all symbolizing the fact.
I'm sure you know this, but that's Martin Luther King Jr. It's kind of a big deal. So he was pretty good. He was spot on.
Caused great fear.
A lot of protests in the 60s to change policy in America. Civil rights movement happened in the 60s.
I hadn't anticipated the power of, I should have, but I didn't anticipate the power of the reaction to the civilizing effects of the 60s. I did not anticipate the strength of the reaction to it. The backlash. There has been.
Do we make it past that one? I feel like we did. I know. I feel like we made it to 3 already, and I stopped at 3. So I don't know why usually it starts up right where you left off, but I'm going to get back to where we were, because I think it was. So he's going to get into how corporations kind of took over and did different things for us that, right now we do have kind of more of a corporatocracy instead of democracy, and that means corporations pay more into the politicians and kind of run them than the people do, and that was one of the main complaints. Maybe it's hard to find it because they only show it for like 3 seconds. Let's get to probably this one. Probably give us another commercial too.
By the 1970s, say General Electric.
Yep.
USAA made for? It's made for him, a veteran who honorably served. And it's made for her. She's serving now.
Oh, it's raining like hell too.
Military spouses and their kids. Become a member.
Good time not to be outside. So you get the whole history of policy in
You make
America.
more profit playing games with money than you could by producing in the United States.
And what he's saying there is GE started their own credit union, which you may have even heard of in Columbus. They started lending out money because they could make more money off of lending money rather than just producing electricity and selling it to people. So kind of where the money games start with the American policy that we see today.
But remember that General Electric is substantially a financial institution today. It makes half its profits just by moving money around in complicated ways. And it's very unclear that they're doing anything that's of value to the economy. So that's one phenomenon, what's called financialization of the economy. Going along with that is the offshoring of production.
So we're sending a lot of these companies overseas, and that's what they mean by offshoring of production and playing with money. I don't know if you've heard of this new concept. They're called non-fungible tokens, and people are selling like an image of, say, LeBron James doing a slam dunk during the playoffs in 2018, and you own that image, and that's the non-fungible token. So artists are making a music piece, and they'll sell it just to you, and you own that non-fungible token. So it's kind of a weird concept of money that is getting into this strange bubble of how we're, even cryptocurrencies in a sense are like kind of a fake piece of money. And that's why I never liked cryptos until I saw that theta that provides for teachers and educators and social workers to communicate with each other. We've lost all of our factories in America, I think. In Ohio especially, Columbus, they look like that. You've probably seen stuff like
The trade
that.
system was reconstructed with a very explicit design of putting working people in competition with one another all over the world. And what it's led to is a reduction in the share of income on the part of working people. It's been particularly striking in the United States, but it's happening worldwide. It means that an American worker is in competition with a super exploited worker in China. Meanwhile, highly paid professionals are protected. They are not placed in competition with the rest of the world, far from it. And of course, capital is free to move. Workers aren't free to move, labor can't move, but capital can. Well, again, going back to the classics like Adam Smith, as he pointed out, free circulation of labor is the foundation of any free trade system. But workers are pretty much stuck. The wealthy and the privileged are protected, so you get obvious consequences, and they're recognized, and in fact praised. Policy is designed to increase insecurity. Alan Greenspan, when he testified to Congress, he explained his success in running the economy as based on what he called greater worker insecurity.
Atypical restraint on compensation increases has been evident for a few years now. But as I outlined in some detail in testimony last month, I believe that job insecurity has played a dominant role.
Keep workers insecure, they're going to be under control. They are not going to ask for, say, decent wages or decent working conditions or the opportunity of free association, meaning unionize. Now, for the masters of mankind, that's fine. They make their profits. But for the population, it's devastating.
So again, I hate to keep adding commentary, but trying to explain it, like this is an interesting concept. I don't know if you've ever seen your parents experience a layoff before, or if you've seen anybody have a layoff before. I told you Dr. Allen was coming. Okay, all right. I told her we'd finish up by 3 and I'm filming it. So we are 25 minutes in, 7 minutes to finish. But keeping the people insecure makes you always strive to like be looking for a job. Have either one of your parents ever been laid off from something?
Yeah.
Okay, your dad. And so that's kind of what he's explaining, is that like if we did in like the 70s, people had worked at companies for like 20, 30, 40 years and retired from them. But as of lately, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, it's weird to see somebody stay at a job longer than 10 or 15 years. Like most people stay 5 years. And what he's saying here is if you keep them insecure, then they got to reapply on Career Builder and go look all over, or be a server for the meantime until you get your teaching job, and even have teachers laid off and go find another teaching job. You don't demand to be protected as much because you're afraid to say like, hey, I should have a higher wage, or The unions, he says, we have a teachers union here. Like a lot of unions have disappeared because they protected the workers, and the corporations have kind of taken them over and have more say so than the workers do, if that makes sense. I hope some of this is making sense to you, because I know it's very challenging policy to understand, but I thought it was important for you guys to see a lot of this.
Well, these two processes, financialization and offshoring, are part of what led to the vicious cycle of concentration of wealth, concentration of power.
I'm Noam Chomsky. I'm on the faculty at MIT, and I've been getting more and more heavily involved in anti-war activities for the last few years.
He collects books.
Noam Chomsky has made two international reputations. The widest is as one of the national leaders of American resistance to the Vietnam War. The deepest is as a professor of linguistics who, before he was 40 years old, had transformed the nature of his subject. You are identified with the New Left, whatever that is. You certainly have been an activist as well as a writer.
Professor Noam Chomsky is listed in anybody's catalog as among the half-dozen top heroes of the New Left. The standing he achieved by adopting over the past 2 or 3 years a series of adamant positions projecting at least American foreign policy, at most America itself.
Well, actually, this notion, anti-American, is quite an interesting one. It's actually a totalitarian notion. It isn't used in free societies. So if someone in, say, Italy is criticizing Berlusconi or the corruption of the Italian state and so on, they're not called anti-Italian. In fact, if they were called anti-Italian, people would collapse in laughter in the streets of Rome or Milan. In totalitarian states, the notion's used. So in the old Soviet Union, dissidents were called anti-Soviet. That was the worst condemnation. In the Brazilian military dictatorship, they were called anti-Brazilian. Now, it's true that in just about every society, the critics are maligned, are mistreated in different ways depending on the nature of the society. Like in the Soviet Union, say, Václav Havel would be imprisoned. In a U.S. dependency like El Salvador at the same time, his counterparts have their brains blown out by the U.S.-run state terrorist forces. In other societies, they just condemned or vilified and so on. And in the United States, one of the terms of abuse is anti-American. There's a couple of others, like Marx. There's an array of terms of abuse. But in the United States, you have a very high degree of freedom. And so if you're vilified by some commissars, who cares? You go on, do your work anyway. These concepts only arise in a culture where if you criticize state power, and by state I mean more generally not just government, but state corporate power, if you criticize concentrated power, you're against the society, you're against the people. That's quite striking that it's used in the United States. In fact, it's right now the only democratic society where the concept isn't just ridiculed. And it's a sign of elements of the elite culture which are quite ugly. The American dream, like many ideals, was partly symbolic but partly real. So in the 1950s and 60s, say, there was the biggest growth period in American economic history.
You ever see pictures from the 50s that are like from either your family or other families, and it always looks like, I don't know, it looks like an idealistic, like Brady Bunch or like Happy Days or like, and he's saying we did have a lot of American growth. Now, sadly, that might have been the spoils of war. In 1945, we won World War II, and the U.S. had a lot of silver and gold backing their currency, and we were able to get oil from other countries. And United Fruit Company in El Salvador, I had to visit some of those sweatshops in El Salvador. So we got a lot of the goods from other countries, and there wasn't too much said about it back then, as we barely had color television until 1960. Now we can see in the internet that other people are exploited in other countries for, like, if you watch the movie called Blood Diamond, or if you watch things of that nature that show, you know, we still live okay compared to many other countries, but it's funny that we still kind of compare ourselves against the person next door and like, oh, I need to have it better. I want a bigger house, or I want a better car. So I know I promised 3, and we are at 3. Hopefully this won't make you fall asleep. It's definitely a lot of information, but you know, it's kind of showing here. He's explaining that American dream, at least in the 50s and 60s, was starting to materialize. But then I guess as they saw population growth occurring, there was no way that they could provide that for 350 million Americans to have, you know, the perfect idealistic lifestyle, however it was described. And then at the same time in El Salvador, Nicaragua, or China, somebody's living off $2 a day and bare minimum food. So it's either they're going to come up and equalize up here with us, or we're going to come down and meet them somewhere in the middle. And it seems like the past 5 years, this movie was made a few years ago, we've seen that equalization, like even a year ago, where the grocery store shelves were empty, and where like there was if there was more of you guys here today, and Dr. Allen didn't need me right now, I would show more of that. But apparently yesterday, the Suez Canal got blocked up by a large ship bringing food to America. Do you even know where the Suez Canal is? I don't think I do. Where they said the Red Sea, but where is that? Is it like, I know it's not the Panama Canal, which is under El Salvador and Nicaragua. Like, you know, U.S., we're here, there's Panama, but I think is Suez like Asia or
Africa, Asia.
Oh, it is? Okay. So they,
I don't know how to describe it. I don't know exactly what countries. There's like Africa, Asia.
well, because yeah, Africa's here, and then the Middle East, and you're right, then Asia and India, then China. So it blocks 13% of the American goods. So like 13% of our food might be blocked off. Our lumber has just gone up by 100%. So building a house now costs $26,000 more. Lumber's going up so fast that they quote you week by week, whereas they used to, you walk into Home Depot and you buy lumber to build a house. So there's something going on that I can't quite explain. Like, it's really weird it's happening now. This kind of breaks it down for you, and I know it's the next discussion, but it's like something weird's going on with our financial system, with shipping of goods, food security, and even like global politics that I can't put a finger on. So hopefully by the end of the class, we'll have an idea of what's going on. So I don't know. It might not be as interesting to you guys because, you know, I don't think I cared much for politics until I was like 30 or 40 even, or even ideas of like where my food comes from until I have like 2 mouths to feed of my own, or 3 mouths, you know. It's like, shoot, where are we going to get our food for tomorrow? So anyway, I don't know. Does any of that make sense?